with. Welcome, everyone, to Down the Middle, your fourth or fifth favorite wrestling podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Stevie Wicks. More on them later. But tonight, honestly, Brian, I don't think I've ever been less enthusiastic about a wrestling show to the point that I'm not watching it live because I don't want to pay $50 to suffer.
I didn't even know there was a pay-per-view until we talked about it a couple nights ago.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
how much I haven't been watching AEW. It's just, I love wrestling. It's just, I would rather watch the highlights to be able to get through the segments instead of sitting there through the whole thing.
Because it's so hard to watch hours of programming. Because it's not super engaging.
Exactly.
But it's really hard to be an AEW fan right now, and I know people in the comments section let me know all the time how stupid I am and all that, this, that, and the other. But again, I always point to the fact that compare ratings, and this goes for WWE too, but compare ratings today to ratings even back to the early to mid 2000s. Certainly compared to the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's like, oh, but the Attitude Era, it's like say what you will about the storylines and whatnot, but people were engaged.
I mean, even though they had to worry about WCW on Monday nights too.
Yeah, but think about that. They were competing with another company, and they still managed to get. I think their average was 7 million people.
Yeah.
So when you add WCW to that, you got to think WCW was close. They got to be drawing 4 or 5 million. I know there at the end they weren't, but when it was really cooking.
At one point, I think they did have more views.
Yeah. They're during the 83 weeks, but I'm talking about WWE just for an even comparison. People just don't care about wrestling because they've killed it. I don't think, somebody asked me not that long ago, do you think wrestling will ever be super popular again? I said, I think it can get better. I think they've done too much to damage it. I don't think, and then plus technologies have changed, so there's a bit of a caveat. Streaming is a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're gonna get to 7-8 million viewers weekly for a wrestling show. I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
And nonetheless, when we had the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, where it had the millions of views, they weren't doing PG style like they are now.
Well, I think that's where the big death started, but that's WWE talking. So let's, like you said, let's get this over with. Let's go over and make our predictions for AEW Revolution 2023. Are you ready?
As best I can.
I'm less enthusiastic, but I'll show up. Okay, first, there might be more on the pre-show, but this is the only match they have listed. We have Mark Briscoe teaming with the Lucha Brothers for some reason versus Daivari and the Varsity Athletes. Now, wait a minute. What happened to the Varsity Blondes? Because the Varsity Athletes are Josh Woods and Tony Nese.
Shows how much we remember. Because I don't remember ever. I think it's a slap on the wrist for us for not watching it all the time.
It's not a slap on the wrist to us. Hey, go back and watch the older episodes. I was so in AEW's corner. And the fact that they've alienated me from watching, because AEW was can't miss TV for me for a very, very long time. And the fact that it is no longer the case, that's not my fault. I tried. I did my part.
Well, I knew when I came into this, you were the AEW guy.
I wanted it, and I don't think AEW is going to fail. I'm glad that there's an alternative, but it could be so much better. It could be so much better, but they're refusing to make it better, so here we are. I think that the team of Briscoe and the Lucha Brothers are going to win because Mark Briscoe is such a winning babyface right now. I don't think you're going to have Mark Briscoe lose a match for a while.
And because of the because the things that happened with JR, I do think that's also going to be the issue. And like, it sucks that it took that for Marco to be getting this push like this. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be a push.
Well, no, he's gonna get a push. I think that's already happening. I will say I would have much rather have seen a couple years ago the Briscoes versus the Lucha Brothers, or versus the Young Bucks, or versus FTR, or you know where I'm going with this. But yeah, I think Mark Briscoe's going to win, and I think it's a little odd that he's in the pre-show, but whatever. Our first, again, as per usual, I don't know if they're going to be in this order. Probably not, but this is the order that they're given. So next we have Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry again in a final burial match. So it's a coffin match, or casket match rather. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't really care either, but I think this is going to be the final nail in the coffin. I'm pretty sure Jungle Boy is going to win.
I hope so they can just put this to bed. Like, I did watch on one of the, I forget how long ago it was, but it was an episode of Dynamite I was watching, and they did that weird spot where Christian Cage got jumped by Jungle Boy, and Jungle Boy was going to do a concerto, but then he was like overacting and ended up not doing it. It's like, really, you had no problem tackling the guy and dropping him to the floor, but doing a concerto is somehow too much.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that too, but it's like, you should just went full swing with it if you're going to go for it. Like,
well, and then Christian hits him in the nuts.
Yeah,
that whole segment was painful because it accomplished nothing, because they already had their thing going. All this did was make Jungle Boy look like a bitch.
They just should have never done a concerto spot to begin with.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that segment. It was completely irrelevant. And where's Luke?
It would have been different if Christian Cage done it to Jungle Boy.
Well, I can't remember if he did now or not. No, I think somebody came out before he was able to do it. And that was the other painful part, was both of them. Like, it took... I get the whole, like, waiting, like, wrestling with it. Why did Christian wait? Well, he waited because he was waiting for somebody to come out and stop him. But, like, in the context of what was happening, it was stupid. And that happens so often with AEW these days. It's like, I understand why the wrestlers are doing certain things, but the logic of doing this stupid thing is stupid. Like, they just stand up on a turnbuckle and wait for the other person to get there. I don't know, man. But yeah, so I don't care about this match at all, but I think you're right. I think Jungle Boy will win, and so hopefully they can move on from this and he can become a jungle man.
Yeah.
You will be happy to know it's over with me now. Like, I love it now.
Hey, I tried.
Oh, you succeeded. Like, because now every time I say yeah, I think about it. I'm like, damn it.
Hey, the next person I got to get over with you is Danhausen, and I'll do it.
It's never gonna happen.
I'll do it. You said that with LA Knight.
That's true. Yeah.
What?
I love you. You sent me a couple TikToks, and I love it. It's fucking great. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, hear me out. I'm not trying to go to WWE now. But there ain't a WrestleMania moment this year that we get LA Knight that comes out. And then Austin comes, LA Knight's doing the thing. He does the, yeah.
Please.
And then Austin comes out. And then he do the yeah and what off. And then Flair's music comes out. He comes out. And then we get yeah, what, and woo contest.
Please.
And then all down for LA Knight getting a stunner, and then a 80-year-old figure four lock or something.
Please. That would be so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that I love it, but I do love it.
I'd be okay with an Austin LA Knight woo and yeah off, or a what and yeah off.
Yeah, but adding Ric Flair to the mix would just... That'd be the coup de grace, as it was. And by the way, speaking of WWE, I hate every time they refer to Finn Balor's finishing move as the coup de grace. It's fucking French. You don't pronounce the S. It's coup de grace. Stop it. It really annoys me. They're like, a coup de grace. Fucking Corey Graves. Stop it. Anyway, moving on. This is another repeat. We have Chris Jericho versus Ricky Starks. Again, but this time, the Jericho Asshole Society are banned from ringside, so they will show up.
Yep.
And enable Jericho to cheat to win once again, because they're going to do a ref bump spot, and then they're going to come out, interfere, and then just as the ref is regaining consciousness, Jericho will cover Ricky Starks, and he will win the match. I would bet money on it.
I could not agree.
I will be shocked if that doesn't happen. And if anybody in AEW is watching this and you change the finish because I said that, you're welcome.
It's either we're going to get that or we're going to get a clean win by Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
What?
But I don't see what this does for anybody, because I think Ricky Starks' push died when he lost to MJF. So now, once again, like so many extremely talented people that work for AEW, he is now floundering. So I guess he's got something to do on TV, which is good, because I'm a big Ricky Starks fan. Now, are you aware of the rumor? Because Ricky Starks and Cody Rhodes are quite close. Well, no, it wasn't a rumor. Ricky Starks was backstage at, I believe it was the Royal Rumble.
I did not know that.
I think it was the Royal Rumble. Or it was Royal Rumble or Raw, but I'm pretty sure it was the Royal Rumble. And, like, there was nothing goofy going on. Ricky was there, I guess, to just, like, support Cody and all that. But are you really telling me that Ricky... And plus, Ricky Starks knows The Undertaker. So if Taker was there, which he probably was, because... If I'm correct, Undertaker's usually at least present for like the big pay-per-views because they do like Fan Fest and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I mean, Michelle McCool was there with her kids and she was part of the women. So like, why wouldn't she be there?
Yeah, exactly. But Ricky Starks and Undertaker actually know each other. That's a fascinating story. But are you like, I refuse to believe that Ricky Starks was there and didn't at least meet Triple H.
Yeah.
Get a handshake.
Have some kind of conversation.
It's one of those things where it's like, we can't actually... He's like, well, we can't actually talk about it right now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But, because honestly, if I'm Ricky Starks, I think Ricky Starks would be tremendous in WWE.
He reminds me a little bit too much of Austin Theory, but I'm sure they can get around with it.
Yeah, he's different enough, though. I see what you mean by that. But honestly, Ricky Starks could be... Now... hold comments till the end because it's not what you think. Ricky Starks could be another Shawn Michaels-esque guy if you're looking at like mid-90s Shawn Michaels. That sort of character.
Okay, I could see that.
Because he can do it, but in his own way. It'd be original. It wouldn't be... But honestly, if Shawn hadn't taken it before, I could see Heartbreak Kid Ricky Starks.
I could.
I mean, absolute Ricky Starks is great, though. But I'm just saying, I could see him flourishing in a place like WWE, which a couple of years ago I wouldn't have said. But with Triple H in charge,
anything can happen.
A lot of good things are happening. A lot of good things are. Case in point, Damian Priest. Back when he was Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor, I couldn't have given two shits less about the guy. And now I'd argue that he's certainly high profile, maybe not main event, but it won't be long.
I don't think it'll be long either.
No. They could put him in title contention tomorrow and nobody would be like, oh God, no. They'd be like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
May not win, but he have a good match. So, we laid out the ending of that. So we think Jericho Appreciation Society will still cheat somehow with a ref bump spot and beat Ricky Starks. Next, this is going to be a clusterfuck if ever there was one. We've got The Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus the House of Black. for the AEW Trios Championships. Why? And here's the real pity, because nobody in this match is bad.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like, these groups are just, they're not, I don't know if they're not being given enough time to do what they're trying to do, but it's just not coming across well. And everybody knows how I feel about the Elite at this point. So if they changed, I'd be a hardcore fan once again. Same with House of Black. I love Malachi Black. I am with Brody King. And I think Buddy Matthews is an underrated talent.
Very underrated, I think, too.
But this match is going to be a clusterfuck. And I don't care who wins, but I'll bet you the Elite's going to win.
I can guarantee you the Elite will win.
Yep. So, again, I don't really understand why we're doing this, but there we have it. Let's see. I'm just checking our time, see, because this is going to be a relatively short one because neither one of us care. But we want to give our fans their due.
Yes.
And I'd also like to point out there are 9 matches on the card tonight. And that is match number 4 that we just started. And I guarantee you those matches, that's going to be almost an hour. Guaranteed. Just those.
Yeah.
The 3 first matches on the main show. Guaranteed. So the next match, we have a 3-way for the AEW Women's World Championship. Champion Jamie Hayter is defending her belt against Saraya and Ruby Soho. I think including Ruby Soho in this is a mistake. Although I see where they're coming from the storyline, but I think the storyline is dumb, so... Like, for some reason, Ruby Soho's caught in the middle between the AEW girls and the ex-WWE girls, even though Ruby Soho's an ex-WWE girl, but she's a babyface, except the AEW original girls are heels. And the ex-WWE girls are babyfaces. But they're like, the baby faces are acting like they're better than the heels, and the heels are like, well, fuck you, we'll show you what AEW is all about, except it should be the reverse. It should be the AEW girls should be the baby faces saying, hey, don't come in here and tell us what we're all about. And the ex-WWE girls should be the heels saying, like, we're better than you and we know it. We're only here because, like, you know, we just wanted to, like, get easy money because, let's face it, the real competition ain't here. But instead, they're doing the exact opposite, and Ruby Soho still doesn't make sense no matter how you divide that up.
No.
And not that I don't want Ruby to have something to do, but... although I believe you're correct, I think we will see Saraya as AEW Women's Champion.
Yeah.
Probably due to some unintentional action by Ruby Soho. And then Ruby Soho will then begin to feud with Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. I'd almost bet money on it.
I agree too.
Like, sometimes I say this shit books itself, but this is not the same thing. This is just so obvious that,
or knock on wood, we could get Ruby. You know, anything can happen.
I would be happy. I'd even be okay with Jamie retaining because Jamie deserves it. But you know what isn't obvious, Brian?
What?
What you will get when you check the mail and you get your Stevie Wicks Cool Beans Candle Company subscription box. Ooh. It's always a surprise every month. See, like in this one, we got a 3-wick candle. Very nice. We've also got a small themed single wick candle in honor of St. Patrick's Day. We've got the old floating shamrock in there, and it's Irish cream. Actually, that does smell really good. I don't normally go for that kind of stuff, but hey. Oh, and looky here. We've got some pop-out scented tarts for a hot fudge brownie. That should be good. And then, oh, looky there. You get a free gift in every box, and this one's got, I don't wear jewelry, but you can always sell it if you don't like it. They gave you a little necklace. And that's sweet. But the best part, Brian, is if you use promo code DOWN20 when you subscribe to your monthly subscription box from Stevie Wicks Candle Company, you get 20% off your first month's box.
Ooh.
And you get a nice little surprise every month. If you subscribe in March, I am told that you will be getting a completely St. Patrick's Day themed box, which is generally the case for every major holiday. So, if you like candles and free gifts, head on over to steviewicks.com today. Use promo code DOWN20 to get 20% off your first monthly subscription box, and then enjoy the gift of candles every month, and you don't even have to think about it. Now, back to the show. Speaking of predictability, our next match is Jon Moxley versus Adam Page. How much you want to bet John's going to bleed?
Almost guarantee it.
I'm not almost guaranteeing it. Considering he bleeds on... Listen, if Jon Moxley will bleed in a main event, and I only say main event because it was the last match of the night on Dynamite, but it never should have been booked. It should have never been booked, and most certainly shouldn't have been the main event. He bled for Evil Uno, so he's going to bleed for Hangman Page. And this whole thing's been so weird. Where are they going with this? Why? Like, have you seen any of the backstage stuff they're doing with Hangman Page and, like, Renee Paquette?
I've seen a little bit of this. I just don't understand where they're going with it. I really don't.
I thought it was hilarious because in one of the interviews, Hangman's like, listen, Renee, I know we're friends. And I'm like, no, you're not. When were you friends? Ever? Like, when was this established? Like, you're both married. When would you possibly be friends, considering John came to work for the company before she did? And Jon Moxley and Hangman Page had never been friendly on screen. I'm sure they were backstage, but, like, we're talking about the TV here. When would Hangman Page and Renee Paquette ever have been friends? And it's not getting us any sympathy for Page, like, honestly, and I like Hangman Page, or at least I did before they killed his character. But Hangman Page is now just coming off like a whiny little bitch, and I don't like it because he's better than that. This is shit booking. And here's the funny thing is I can tell in Page's performance, I don't even think he's buying it. I think he thinks it's stupid.
I honestly, I just don't know what to say. It's just, I would hope Hangman wins so we can finally get the push he actually deserves. Because his world title run wasn't the greatest.
No, we went over that. It's because they waited too long. And I loved the way they did it, but they waited way too long. And then, right after he wins it, CM Punk comes into the company and steals every ounce of thunder, understandably so. But they did such a terrible job booking it. Page didn't even look. It was like it's only a matter of time before Punk gets it. Because Page was never treated like a serious world champion. And I even hated the way he lost it. If he was going to lose to Punk, he should have lost. Well, he did lose clean, but you know what I mean. I didn't like the way he lost the title. I didn't like the way he was just mopey afterwards. It's like, dude, you lost to CM Punk, like, and you took him to what was it, 40 minutes, 45 minutes? Yeah, it was a longer match. Like, Hangman should have been a babyface in that moment and been like, hey man, you know, I'm proud of my performance and you were the better man that night, but I went the distance with you. Pull a Rocky moment out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you've been in the ring with the likes of John Cena and the likes of all these other guys, and I took you to your limit. And I know you're older, man, and I know you're not necessarily on the last ride, but I mean, you're not what you used to be, but I still took you to the limit. And for that, I'm proud. Shake hands, and then you can both move on. Maybe even form a tag team down the road because you haven't completely killed whatever chemistry they had. But that ship sailed. And that's the problem with AEW's booking. And I should say Tony Khan's booking is whenever, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's total TikTok booking. We want this Instagram reel to go viral. We want this TikTok to go viral. We want this video to go viral. He does not think at all about the lasting impact of what is done in this ring. And I think that's what's missing from wrestling in general. Now, Triple H is not nearly as bad at that. Actually, a lot of what is happening in WWE under Triple H is coming back later because they're thinking about where they're going before they do something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Roman Reigns is a prime example. That's been, what, 2-3 years? Of that constant like back and forth between Roman and Jay that started on day one, pun intended, and it's just now like really getting the big payoff. They've teased it a little bit here and there, but it's just been wonderful. And the stuff with Sami Zayn, which I thought was so stupid, has become like what SmackDown is worth watching for.
SmackDown is definitely the A show right now.
Yeah, which I'm wondering how much of that is Triple H's influence.
I mean, as much as they've always said Raw was the A show, I think we're starting to see SmackDown's gonna be SmackDown's the A show.
Well, actually, I think that has much more to do with the network that it's on, because Raw is still on USA, which is cable network, whereas SmackDown is on Fox, which even though, I mean, streaming's the thing, but there's a reason the network, you know, the big network shows are still the highest rated shows on television. So there is something to the fact that it's on Fox and it's free over the air TV. You're going to get more people watching it. It just is. As long as your programming isn't absolute shit, like a drama on CBS is going to do better than a drama on USA. I'm sorry, not sorry. It is what it is. Yeah. Because you have many more potential viewers. And Fox is a giant, and they paid a lot of good money to have SmackDown on its network, and they're going to demand exceptional programming. So I think that has more to do with it than anything. But like we said, like it's just AEW's booking is so just, like I said, Tony just doesn't consider what's going to happen after this. And there's ways you can do things where both people can come out better or the same than when they came in. And that's a perfect example. Hangman Page came out looking like a dork, and Punk was no better or worse, except now he's the champion.
Yeah.
Like it didn't mean much, because they could have played that where Punk could have, and Punk's fully capable of doing this, is he could have had it where if they'd built Page up properly, you know, well, Hangman beat the belt collector. You know, arguably, at the time, the way especially if they booked it better, Kenny Omega would have been considered the greatest champion in AEW history. Short history, but history nonetheless. And Hangman beat him for the biggest prize. And Punk comes in and, you know, like, yeah, he says he's the best in the world, and he was the best in the world, but that was 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Punk even said on a couple of occasions, like, do I still got it? I don't know. But just the way they got us to that dance was just, it was okay, but it could have been done so much better. And now you've got, Adam Page is another guy who a couple years ago, I wouldn't have said this, but honestly, I think if he found his way to WWE, I think it would rehabilitate his career a little bit. Because where's he going to go?
Nowhere.
Exactly. He's already been AEW champion, and that was tarnished. That's why I like having multiple wrestling companies, though, because honestly, sometimes Cody is a great example. All Cody really needed was to go somewhere else for a while. And then he came back to WWE, and he was already a made man. Because everybody knew where he'd been.
Yeah.
But now he's back to the real company, the big company, not even the real company. He was over the instant his music hit. So I think some of these guys... Oh, go ahead.
He was over before his music hit.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
People knew it was coming down to it.
Yeah. So that's a prime example of that sometimes all you need is to go somewhere else for a while. And I think Hangman needs that. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be WWE, but I think that would be wise for him. Certainly be wise for his career. And he's got the athletic ability. Although I I did find it really funny that I think it was Logan Paul who started doing the buckshot lariat.
I almost kind of like his version better.
I think it's more acrobatic and graceful, but Hangman's, I like the way he does it because it hits hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that. I was like, ooh, now that's a match I wouldn't mind seeing. And it can be here. This is so old school wrestling. Like, it sounds dumb, but it could actually make sense. You get Hangman Page into WWE, and it could be something as simple as, I saw that fucking YouTuber use my finishing move. You haven't earned that yet, son. Even though I think they're really close to the same age, but
probably
you could build a story around, and it's the old adage, it's like, hey, I busted my ass, in little podunk towns at the fairgrounds and rec centers, flew all the way over to Japan just for a handshake and a hot dog, while you can't even go to Japan because you were busy dicking around on YouTube like a dork. And then you decide after you become a millionaire, hey, I'd like to jump in the ring and flop around a bit. Well, guess what? You haven't earned it, son. It's such an old story, but it could be easily done.
And it works.
It works every time. It works every single time. And there you go. And Triple H, feel free. I don't even need a royalty check, although if you want to send one.
Yeah,
I won't say no, but I just want to see good wrestling.
It's not hard to put your name on a dotted line.
Yeah, go throw a couple zeros there. It's real easy to spell, too. But yeah, geez, like, I don't even care who wins. But like I said, I mean, I think Hangman should win, but I think Jon Moxley will win because his whole career, Hangman just keeps getting kicked around in AEW.
At that point, yeah, he is.
Yeah, so, but even if he wins, I don't know what it'll do other than maybe start a winning streak for him.
Maybe it's something for him to bounce back from if he beats Jon Moxley.
That's the only positive I could see, but actually, I didn't even see this, but guess what? Moxley will bleed because it's a Texas death match.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's going to bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah! Next match, we have another for some reason match. Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT title.
That's kind of been a building story for that one.
Yeah, but we've seen it. I mean, it'll be a good match, but it'll be very much a Ring of Honor style match. And what I mean by that is, don't get me wrong, I loved Ring of Honor back in the day, still do. Wish it all the success in the world. Ring of Honor was not known for its storytelling. It was booked very much like an indie. It was booked for the match, not for the story.
Yeah.
Which is fine. By the nature of its programming, I understand why they did that, but it was like, oh, come and see Wardlow versus Samoa Joe in 6 weeks. There wasn't a ton of story leading up to it.
Yeah, it was kind of this, and this, and this at this time.
Yeah.
Come on.
And don't get me wrong, Ring of Honor had some great matches like that, but that was kind of their shtick. But when you're on this level of television, you need, especially when you're in weekly episodic television, you need those storylines to thread it through the matches. And I think that's where Tony Khan hasn't quite caught on yet. He's still booking like Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he's not. It's not really getting the fans involved in the story progression. It's just, here's a match, go your way.
Yeah, it's like, it's a great match, but you don't appreciate it as much because there's been no story leading up to it. Which is a real shame because some of these matches are great. There's just not as much investment as there could be, and that's where you get into not having to kill yourself in a match. That's when you can get, I'm trying to think of a good example, like Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens got trying to get a stunner over.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wanted. He didn't have to do any backflips. They wanted to see him hit a stunner. A stunner. which is a cool move, but it was just all in the story of the match.
So hear me out. This is what Tony Khan does. He sits at home on his Xbox Series S, his PS5 or something, plops in WWE 2K22, gets on my GM mode, and goes auto create. And that's his booking for the week.
I'll see, maybe, but that would probably be good. Actually, I think Tony Khan, like Jim Cornette said it first, and now I can't not imagine it. Tony Khan has real life action figures. Now, I mean, that's how he books it. But I always imagine it's like the scene in Spaceballs where Dark Helmet is playing with the dolls.
Yep.
I imagine that's how Tony Khan books. Complete with like his little toy wrestling ring. He's like, and then Wardlow does a superplex off the top rope.
He's got all of his ECW accessories. This is why we get these death matches and everything all the time.
Oh yeah, dude, but that's why they came out with the AEW figures so quickly, is Tony Khan needed him for booking. Oh god. So I don't know who you got. I don't even know who'd win that match. What'd you say?
Probably Hangman.
No. I'm talking about Samoa Joe and Wardlow.
Samoa Joe. Wardlow's probably going to take it back. I really have. I feel like Wardlow's going to take it back, and then I feel like oh goodness, what's his name? They all had that storyline for a minute. Powerhouse Hobbs. And then we're going to get Powerhouse Hobbs versus Wardlow again. And then Hobbs is going to get the TNT title.
Boy, I hope so. That would be tremendous for Hobbs and for AEW fans. Because I'm telling you, ever since when they first introduced Powerhouse Hobbs, I was like, he's going to be a guy. I knew Wardlow was going to be. Actually, Wardlow got over despite his first look, because his first little vignette thing was so weird and out of nowhere. It's a miracle, I think, that he got over as quickly as he did. But that has a lot to thank for. He has a lot of that to thank for him. A lot of that is thanks to MJF.
Yeah. I think MJF really helped him get off his feet at first.
Because do you remember his first? It was that weird video where he was with a girl outside, and then they had guys like acting like they were trying to purse snatch, but they weren't. Like, it was weird, and then he just beat him up. But we didn't see him beat him up. They did like a Ninja Turtles thing, where you just heard it. It was like, Wardlow is coming to AEW. I'm like, who? Now, granted, I'm a Wardlow fan, but I'm just saying his introduction left a little bit to be desired. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think Wardlow, if they're smart, Wardlow will win.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing was probably just a way to get Wardlow back into looking good, because God knows they shit the bed with that. So next, oh man, this will probably be the biggest cluster of the night. We have a 4-way tag team match for the AEW Tag Team Championship, consisting of the champions, the Guns, Colton and Austin, versus the Acclaimed, versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. What did I tell you? And Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. So we got the 2 Young Guns versus the only over tag team versus the ex-TNA guys versus Pockets and the Clown. Gee, I wonder who's going to win this match.
I've got Orange Cassidy and Danhausen winning.
You're probably right.
No, to really think about it,
I think you might be right, because the way they've been presenting Danhausen lately. They're going to do something with him. I don't know what.
They could. If not, the Young Guns are going to keep it. I think it's
probably.
For them to lose it.
Probably, and this would be a way for the Guns to look good, saying we beat 4 teams. Even though,
or what we do is the Acclaimed is about to win it, and Billy Gunn screws the Young Bucks out of it, or not Young Bucks, but the Acclaimed out of getting it, which helps the Young Guns to win it. And Billy Gunn's like, look, I've been trying to get this heat out of you guys for so long, and now we're getting this heat finally. Like, this is what he's been trying to do this whole time.
I hope you're right. I really do, and I would commend Mr. Khan for that, because that not only makes sense, but you've instantly, like, you get the Young Guns over even more. You get them heat. You give something more for the Acclaim to fight over. Love it.
Yeah.
But they'll probably give it to Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. And then Billy Gunn will join up with them and start painting his face.
Don't you dare say that.
You know, I said it as a joke, but there's a pretty good shot that's going to happen.
I could see that happening.
And now, so realistically, I want what you said to happen. I think the Guns will keep it, but I think it will be I don't know. I also wouldn't be surprised if they gave Orange Cassidy and Danhausen the title.
Was it Orange Cassidy still the?
I think he is.
American,
all Atlantic.
All Atlantic, something like that.
I'm pretty sure he is. Oh, but now it's time. It's time for the main event. I wonder how much they're paying Mark Henry to just say that on camera. It's probably nothing against Mark Henry, but it's probably way too much. He should be doing much more. But anyway, we have the AEW World Champion, MJF, defending his title against the one, the only, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Now, as a fellow Bryan, how do you see this working out?
I'm actually very excited for this match.
It's about the only thing to be excited about.
I love how MJF works, and we've seen more and more from MJF these last couple of weeks.
I love the way MJF works. Now, to be
Spanish fly and landed right on his feet.
That's what I love about MJF. He's like, because he's extremely athletic and he can do all this stuff, but he doesn't. He resists the urge. He brings it out so that when he does it, it's like, I forget what pay-per-view it was, but that match he had with Darby Allin, it was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and MJF made a kip-up look cool, though.
It's like he's trying to get away with getting over without being one of them flippy-dippy bullshit people.
Oh, it's almost like he's acting like a heel.
Oh my God!
Who'd have thunk it? But this is a 60-minute Iron Man match.
Ooh.
Now, these are about the only two people in AEW that I would trust with an Iron Man match.
Yeah.
Now that honestly makes me like, this might actually be a really good match, because the fact that it's an Iron Man makes me think that Bryan Danielson just might beat him. But at the same time, I think that would be very foolish and short-sighted of them.
Yeah, because I feel like MJF just has more to tell.
Oh, we know he does. Now, this will be a good match, and it will have a great story, because Bryan Danielson has the advantage in an Iron Man match, but and MJF will have to be very creative to cheat, because okay, so he cheats and gets one pinfall, but now he's got to last. So I don't know. I don't know how this one's going to turn out, and that is a good wrestling match.
Very good. I mean, Daniel Bryan's already been in. I think he's already been in a couple Iron Man matches.
In his career, yes. Oh, I think he did those in Ring of Honor, as early as Ring of Honor, but and WWE, I'm pretty sure he did too. And their promos have been really good. Like MJF's been in typical form.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this one's going to turn out. Normally, I would say,
Go ahead.
I think MJF. I think they should keep the belt on MJF. But again, what's that? But then again, I think that the type of match it is, and Bryan Danielson certainly can be the AEW World Champion.
Mm-hmm.
But in both cases, where do they go from here?
I don't know, because what more are they going to do after this?
Actually, if this were to happen, it would renew my hope with AEW.
Oh no.
Well, this would work no matter who won. But imagine this one for a moment. Bryan Danielson gets the final pinfall in the last second, and it's tied. No, hear me out. It's tied in the last 3 seconds of the match or so. Bryan Danielson gets the pinfall. Bell rings. Bryan Danielson's new AEW World Champion. He celebrates. He's carrying on, getting all that. Cult of Personality hits.
Yeah, but that's
Fantasy booking, but it could work with MJF too. It would probably work better with MJF winning.
Well, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, they have history from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it would work with either one. I think in this case it would be better because Punk has said flattering things about Bryan Danielson, and as much fun as a babyface versus babyface match can be, heel versus babyface is always better for the story.
Well, maybe it may be better, like, even if Daniel Bryan wins and like he's getting out of the ring and the song hits and it's just MJF laying in the ring. And maybe we get CM Punk that gets in the ring and he does something heelish, and then we get babyface MJF versus heel CM Punk.
Oh, that would be interesting.
It would.
Now, for all the people that will say something in the comments, either after they watch this or when they... Oh, we have a comment. From You Know the Deal. MJF wins easy. He should take lead and handcuff Bryan to the ropes halfway through. Just cut a 30-minute promo to end the show.
that would be...
Now,
that is MJF-ish, though.
That would be MJF-ish. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. In an Iron Man match, it's still not a no DQ, though, right?
No.
It is a no DQ?
Okay, no, it's not.
Yeah, so that's what I thought.
Getting hit with a weapon or something would cause a DQ. But if he's handcuffed, that's not a DQ because he's not getting hit with it.
Okay.
It's the same scenario. It's kind of the same scenario when it was Batista versus John Cena, and John Cena taped Batista's legs to a turn post, and he couldn't get up for the last man standing match.
That's right. Well, but the last man standing match is no DQ.
Yes, but still, hypothetically, the tape is not a weapon anyway. So
I think that depends on your definition, but
what happens in a bedroom stays in the bedroom.
But like again, this might be like my answer, because I can't help but think that CM Punk will return to AEW at some point, just because we're not hearing anything about it.
Yeah.
Like you would think, I know that they're still negotiating a buyout, but really, I mean, you would think, I think that's either going to be a case of Punk's recovering from injury and will be back in the ring, and they still might be negotiating parts of that. But I can't see anybody being like, well, we're just going to pay him for another like 3-4 years to just sit at home. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
So I'm honestly wondering, I really am still wondering if all of this has been kind of a bit of a work, because they knew Punk was injured after that match, and they knew he was going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that, maybe there was a scuffle, but then they saw opportunity. So I just don't know. I can't help but think that we'll at least see Punk back.
Yeah.
So, but that would be tremendous. And then I would feel really bad for not buying the pay-per-view, because I'm still not paying $50 to sit through what is it? How many matches? 9 matches, 10 if you count the pre-show. Oh no, that's 9 if you count the pre-show. So I'm not going to sit through 8 matches that I couldn't give a shit less about just to watch one 60-minute match.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. And actually, it'll be starting. The pre-show will be starting in 15 minutes. Not even. Be starting in 12 minutes. So, I expect this pay-per-view, like many other, well, pretty much every other AEW pay-per-view, at least for the last couple times, to be extremely long and somewhat lackluster, save for this main event, just because anytime you got MJF in a match, it's money.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, do you have anything else you'd like to add, Brian, or should we wrap it up?
I think people should be sitting down, getting some popcorn, and getting ready to watch AEW.
I'm going to sit down, get some popcorn, and watch literally anything else.
Well, I am about to sit down and go back to work.
Bitchin'.
Yeah.
So neither one is. But what you should be watching is the Down the Middle podcast, because we call shit, and sometimes we're right about stuff, you know. It's happened from time to time.
And we should be getting paychecks, but you know.
Yeah, you know, but you know, it's coming. I'm still so proud that, man, I called Cody at that was at Mania, right?
Yeah.
Man, called that shit to the T. They even turned the lights out. Like, come on. Trips, I should really get a check for that one. If nothing else, you can pay us to stop giving spoilers for all your shows. You can do that too.
And, you know, we could quit booking your shows for you, because you're somebody's obviously watching it and booking it the way we say sometimes.
You know, sometimes it's like when it happens enough times, you're kind of like, maybe they are. But anyway, enjoy AEW Revolution if you're going to watch it. And if you're not going to watch it, enjoy whatever wrestling fair you like to enjoy. Hopefully it all gets better, and hopefully the business resurges in a way we've yet seen. I can't see that happening, but hey, you never know. I never thought that I would find LA Knight to be entertaining. So, you know, dreams can come true, kids. Anyway, as always, thank you for enjoying this episode of Down the Middle. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. And tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your weird sister that, you know, you should watch Down the Middle, because if nothing else, it's entertaining. And
if not watch it, listen to it. Yeah,
and if not watch it, you can listen to it on all of the audio streaming podcast platforms, including but not limited to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Amazon, Audible, Podcast Addict. There's so many more. There's so many, I just can't keep them straight, Brian. It's never been easier to listen to the Down the Middle podcast. Do what?
No, enough fingers to count them all.
I don't have enough. I got to take my shoes off if I want to go much further.
I don't know if I can get my leg up to do that.
Well, I didn't say you had to lift it up. You just got to take your shoe off so you can see your toes, right? What is that? Somebody told me once, he's like, well, I come from a town where if you want to count to 12, you got to take your shoes off. Sadly, I'm from a town like that. But anyway, I digress. Enjoy Down the Middle. Leave a comment. Tell a friend. Do all that stuff. But most of all, enjoy some wrestling. Yeah!
What?
Yeah!
What?
I said yeah!